Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, April 20th. I'm Stephanie Haney here with your latest updates from WKYC.com and our WKYC app as we look forward to starting another week in what is now the state of affairs here in Ohio as we deal with the COVID-19 coronavirus. As usual, we'll start off with the numbers from yesterday's Ohio Department of Health release, which happened at 2 p.m. Yesterday, there was a drastic jump in the number of COVID-19 coronavirus cases. Now, we are now working with an expanded CDC definition. So, the number of cases that we're talking about now, the number of positive cases, include confirmed cases that have had a test that came back positive, and also an expanded definition from the Centers for Disease Control. So these are probable cases of COVID-19 coronavirus, as we know that testing has been limited, and that's impacted our ability to fully understand what's happening with COVID-19 coronavirus. So when I give you these numbers, keep in mind that these are based on the expanded CDC definition, and all along we have been being told by experts, including our director of the Ohio Department of Health, Dr. Amy Acton, that we don't have the full picture of how this is impacting Ohio because we don't have widespread testing. Now we're taking a look at the probable cases of COVID-19 coronavirus, so maybe getting a more complete picture. Still though, there's a lot of data that we would like to have that we just don't have. But here are those numbers. There are now 11,602 confirmed and probable cases of COVID-19 coronavirus here in the state of Ohio. That's a big jump from Saturday. The number of confirmed and probable cases on Saturday was 10,222. So that's a difference of 1,380 new cases. So if we think about that in terms of the updated numbers that we got from Dr. Acton, who was anticipating that we might see 1,600 new cases a day when we reach peak, that's definitely more in line with those estimates, though not quite that high still, and definitely down from those initial estimates of 10,000 more each day. But that's where it's at right now. And the number of deaths, which again is also based on the expanded CDC definition that includes confirmed positive deaths as well as probable COVID-19 coronavirus deaths, we are now at a total of 471 in the state of Ohio. These are based on the numbers that were released on Sunday at 2 p.m. from the Ohio Department of Health. Now, it's been a huge topic of conversation about increasing that testing. We have an update on that for you today. RITE has opened self-SWAB coronavirus testing in PARMA here in Northeast Ohio. So RITE announced that it's opening these self-swabbing naval testing locations in 7 places across the state. One of them is in PARMA. So this facility, this availability opened for the first time today at 9 a.m. and it'll be open until 5 p.m. Under the CDC guidelines, they are requesting that people who would like to be tested with this self-swab, this self-nasal swab, pre-register in order to do that. We have information on that at WKYC.com and our WKYC app. Another thing that everyone's been talking about over the weekend is Governor Mike DeWine increasingly not giving us so many details about what it actually means when he says that Ohio will begin to reopen on May 1st. But over the weekend on Meet the Press, he did give a little bit more insight into what we can potentially expect there. DeWine says that the plan for Ohio does strongly resemble President Donald Trump's 3-phase plan. And under Trump's plan, the phases are broken down into what individuals can do, what employers can generally do, and then also even more specifically what very specific employers can do. So I'll give you the basic rundown of what that looks like. Under phase 1, all vulnerable individuals are still being asked to shelter in place. This is under President Donald Trump's plan, which DeWine has said the Ohio plan will closely resemble. So again, we're still waiting for those details from DeWine, but he said it will closely resemble this plan, which is President Donald Trump's administration's plan. So under phase 1, not a lot would actually change from what we currently have in place for the stay-at-home order. All vulnerable individuals would be continuing to shelter in place when in public, maintaining that physical distance of at least 6 feet, no more than 10 people in settings, avoiding socializing in groups of more than 10 people, minimizing non-essential travel, and for employers, encouraging people to continue to work from home possibly returning to work in phases, closing of common areas at workplaces in order to enforce strict physical distancing protocols, minimizing non-essential travel, and special accommodations for people who are particularly vulnerable. And then when we look at specific types of employers, we're looking at schools and organized youth activities that would continue to remain closed under phase 1. Visiting to senior living facilities and hospitals would still be prohibited under phase 1. Large venues would be able to operate under strict physical distancing protocols. Elective surgeries can resume on an outpatient basis. Gyms would be able to reopen if they do observe strict physical distancing and sanitizing protocols, but bars would remain closed. Under phase 2, the most poignant differences would be individuals, non-essential travel could resume for individuals. For those specific type of employers, schools and organized youth activities could reopen. Large venues could operate under moderate physical distancing protocols. In phase 1, it was strict physical distancing. In phase 2, you're looking at moderate physical distancing for those large venues. Elective surgeries could resume on both an outpatient and an inpatient basis, and bars could reopen with increased focus on that physical distancing. Standing room occupancy would be diminished, and a lot of focus given on where seating is, where the people are, keeping people at least that 6 feet apart. Now, under phase 3, for individuals, at this point, it would be appropriate under this plan for vulnerable individuals to resume public interaction but keep practicing physical distancing. However, low-risk populations should consider minimizing time spent in public environments. For regular employees, just general employment situations, unrestricted staffing of work sites would be able to resume. And then when we look at those specific type of employers under phase 3, visits to senior care facilities and hospitals would be expected to be able to resume. Large venues could operate under limited physical distancing protocols. So how that works for large venues under phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 is strict physical distancing, moderate physical distancing, and then limited physical distancing protocols. Gyms would be able to reopen if they adhere to sanitation protocols. At this point in phase 3, Trump's plan drops the requirement for strict physical distancing at gyms, and bars would be able to operate with increased standing room capacity where applicable. So we're still waiting for more details on DeWine on how he would apply this plan, these guidelines to the state of Ohio, and we look forward to hearing more on that soon. We are expected to hear more on his plans for schools this week, so we will keep you posted on that. The White House also plans to make calls with governors after states have been asking the president, the administration, to increase their testing capabilities. The Trump administration is acknowledging these calls for help. Vice President Mike Pence will host a teleconference today to speak with governors across the country regarding testing capabilities, as well as their current situation and action plans. Trump said at a White House news conference on Sunday that Pence will review what more can be done and can be done together to develop locally tailored testing strategies. So that's the plan, to get information at this teleconference today and then to move forward and hopefully develop a plan. Adequate testing numbers are a key figure to implementing the changes of phase 1 across the country under Trump's administration plans. Now, as we're all talking about when states can reopen, some states moving forward with that, protesters across the country have made their voice heard that they are not in favor of these stay-at-home orders. Beaches have reopened in Florida, and Texas begins the reopening of its state. In Michigan, protesters showed up in large numbers to fight Governor Whitmer's extensive orders to stay at home and restrict non-essential trips. Here in Ohio, we have also had protests as well that have been occurring outside of the State House during Governor Mike DeWine's daily press conferences at 2 p.m. DeWine was asked about that on Meet the Press yesterday, and he said that people do certainly have the right to protest, but he does ask, if you will be protesting, that you observe the CDC guidelines, remain 6 feet apart, and wear masks in public, as is recommended by the CDC. Now, as we look to and sort of get more comfortable with the current situation that we're in, I know I've been having conversations with lots of people who have said they're kind of settling into this situation, which gives some comfort and also a little bit of sadness as people long for how things were before the COVID-19 coronavirus arrived here in the US, even though we don't know exactly when that was, but when we became aware of it. But one thing that people are doing in communities across Northeast Ohio in order to celebrate their seniors who are missing out on a lot of milestone moments right now, missing out on potentially graduation, on their last few days in school, on their senior exams, on their senior proms, those kinds of things. So in communities across Northeast Ohio, something that schools are doing is they're lighting up their stadiums in order to honor the 2020 seniors. My alma mater, Perry High School down in Canton, is planning that tonight at 8:20 p.m. They'll be lighting up the stadium for 20 minutes. Port Clinton Schools also said that they'll be lighting up their stadium for 20 minutes and 20 seconds in order to honor our 2020 seniors. Now, both of these school districts reminding people that physical distancing is still in place. So if you plan on taking in the lighting of those stadiums, keep in mind that the stadiums will be closed. You can't go in the stadium, but maybe you can drive by or park in the parking lot and make sure you keep that safe physical distance while we're honoring our high school seniors who are missing out on a lot of key moments, but hopefully we can still celebrate them and help them feel how proud we are of them and what an incredible time this is and how they will certainly never forget these moments right now. Those are your top headlines for WKYC.com and our WKYC app right now. Next up, you can catch us on 3 News Connect. That's with Jay Crawford and our senior health correspondent, Monica Robbins. You can see that on 3 News. We'll also stream that on Facebook, YouTube, our WKYC.com website, and our WKYC app. And I will see you back here at 2 p.m. as soon as we have those updated numbers from the Ohio Department of Health. I'm Stephanie Haney.